Just thank you. Have just genuinely admired the work that he's been engaged in, I think at this point for maybe 15 years or so in Haiti, in just incredibly challenging circumstances there. But his presentation is From Disaster Relief to Long-Term Self-Sufficiency, the Experience of Humanitarian Organization in Capacity Building and the Empowerment of Rural Haitian Communities. And the presenter is Demeter Rosafov. I will turn it over to you. I think if you prefer, we can hold questions and discussion to the end. But otherwise, I turn the floor over to you and look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, John. Thanks for the invitation to speak to you all tonight, and good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me well despite the background noise. So this earbuds were a good investment today. I knew that I have to minimize the background noise. I always love speaking about our programs in Haiti, but this is the first time I do it from an airport. So hopefully, please forgive any technical glitches or. And I'll start with I'll jump right in with a brief introduction to somebody I considered special. She passed away, unfortunately, early this year, but let me share the screen. I'll show you her photograph. Hopefully this would work. And are we on maximum? Can you see the slideshow? Okay.
Yes.
So, and many of these women on the photographs I feel very close to, even though I've not seen them for several years, but they're all members of self-help groups, women self-help groups. These are the grassroots networks that we have been forming for the last 10 years in rural Haiti. But Leonie, she's the woman to the right, and she used to sell me vegetables when I first came on a bicycle to her village in 2004. And I remember when I first met her, she seemed like an old woman, but she was actually, I knew she was in her she was at that time middle 50s, yet she seemed very old and burdened by life. Her husband was not treating her well. She was illiterate. I could see she had a sparkle, but her sparkle could not come through. And then when I took this picture of her, that was 2 years before she passed away, she was a completely different woman. She had dignity. She showed me her little notebook. She knew how to write, read. She was helping her granddaughter do her homework, and she was extraordinarily proud about this. She showed me her little book where she had saved money together with her self-help group members, and she was already getting loans from her self-help group network. So she had started a small business. Her husband, the women in her self-help group had put him in his place, and he was treating her nicely. She had a dignity about her, and she had solidarity around her. And you could see it, I hope, in the picture to the right. She has a strength about her. And all the women you see in the circle, they exude this strength. I remember the villages, when I went to the villages before we introduced the self-help group method, the villages, whenever we invite the leaders to discuss projects, only men would come. No woman would come. And I would tell them, I'm sorry, but we cannot start a meeting without 50% women. And then we'll close the meeting, and then they'll come the following week and they'll bring a few more women. And I'll say again, I'm sorry, but we have to come again with more women. And so until the culture in the village changed, but it was not until the self-help group method that literally the village culture got transformed. And that's what I'll share a little bit of this transformation. In the process, not just the village transformed, but also AMURT transformed. And it happened in a context, extremely challenging context, which many of you, all of you, I think, associate with strings of natural disasters and political and social upheaval. And Haiti is definitely a country that is linked with a lot of heaviness in most of us. And for me personally and for AMURT, we started our journey there in Haiti, in the northwest of Haiti, in a very, very difficult region. You can see on the satellite image, it's that square with the white spot, with the white area. It shows the desertification. It's the most desertified part of Haiti. And it's the most isolated, the most vulnerable part. And this is why we were sent, I feel, there for some reason. Now, AMURT operates in 3 other regions as well. But I'll focus this presentation on this original project that started this shift, organizational shift. Somehow I'm not able to move between slides. Okay. And it's a region far away from the violence in Port-au-Prince. And this is a community running away in Carrefour a couple of months ago. It was Associated Press picture. The gangs are taking over the capital, literally. That's what's happening. And they wipe out whole neighborhoods, and they forcefully drive them from their homes. They kill and rape, and this is the reality in Port-au-Prince, and it has its own root causes, and it is part of this overall puzzle in Haiti, which also has tremendous amount of dependency on foreign aid, which literally bankrupts and forces rural farmers out of their livelihoods and into the urban slums. And Haiti, from an agriculture production area, has turned into one of the biggest importers of food. And this couple, of course, it is, and I usually have to ask permission from people to take their photographs, so I apologize to them indirectly. I could not ask for permission, but I'm close to them, and they signify the tremendous vulnerability of communities hit by disaster. And this particular family, it's a mother and son, and they live in a coastal village in the northwest, hit by Matthew, and they did not have any support network in society. There was nothing they could lean on, and you can see the desperation in their eyes. Yet Haiti, for me, it doesn't carry heaviness. I have, for some reason, when I feel Haiti in my heart, I feel tremendous inspiration and hope. And I spent 15 years there. I lived for 5 years in this village where this little girl is from. I know when she was born. That's why I included her in, and she's a very special girl, and she has tremendous resilience that I can see in every single person I meet in Haiti. You can see it in her eyes. Tremendous strength and joy. You can see the joy in the eyes of these women. They're so poor, yet to them, just coming to the tree nursery that we operate there, and we operate 8 tree nurseries, and to them, they carry these trees like they're babies. And the tremendous sense of solidarity and stewardship. And these women in Magasin, they're forced to reckon with their solidarity and with their tremendous cooperation. And this is the part of Haiti that brings me tremendous inspiration and hope. And it has a big part of our story. I'll play you a short video.
Nan souj, genyen an pil deboazman, men avek nou regard, nou santi nou kapab
share her story of another story of empowerment. She shares a little bit about her adoption of moringa. She planted moringa trees in her yard, and now using moringa, she is resolving the malnutrition problems of her children. All the villages in her community, they have now, in all the communities where we have introduced moringa, malnutrition rates are dropping, and also other indicators such as soil erosion rates and other environmental indicators.
Li permet nou fè ekonomi tou, nous faire éducation.
He's talking about the importance of education and savings and becoming more economically self-sufficient.
Li montre nous et li aider nous comprendre l'importance moringa gen la donne, nous pas cacher di nous pas perdre rien la donne.
So again, this is a little glimpse and far away from the urban reality of Haiti. But I'll come back to this picture because this is what marked it was a turning point for me and for us. The picture that we took that's taken during the earthquake, looting in downtown Port-au-Prince. And for us, collectively, for everyone involved, it was a tremendously traumatic period. But together with the trauma, a sense of a renewed of this tremendous need to shift the paradigm came because we realized, together with the suffering and all the incoming extravagance of aid that got poured into Haiti, we realized that we do not want to follow traditional models of humanitarian aid, and we do not want to be a faith-based charity. And we do not want to be an NGO driven by grants and other macro political agendas. In Haiti, you could see the intersect of both of these agendas create a graveyard of good intentions. And I put it there equal to Haiti Republic of NGOs because this is literally what Haiti was and is. Well, not anymore. Now all the NGOs are leaving, and same as faith-based charities, but after the earthquake, just the sheer extravagance of resources and the utmost inability of these resources to meet the bare necessities of those who most need it came to the surface. It became obvious that the conventional model of humanitarian aid has failed. And it forced us into re-examining who we wanted to be as an organization, and we realized we have to perform a problem tree analysis very sincerely and address the root causes of the problem rather than the consequences. And we realized that agencies that failed could not go deep to the root cause, and they could spend millions of dollars resolving maybe basic needs, but they would not go, they would scratch the surface, and these same problems would keep appearing over and over, and they will leave behind a very disempowered community. I'm going to share a video that highlights some of these programs that we realized once we shifted our approach. And let's see if you can, John, can you see and hear?
I can hear, but it looks like the image is distorted right now.
Okay, it is distorted.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is the image distorted?
Yes.
Let me play and see, does it improve? Is it still distorted?
Yeah, it's very strange. It's big at the top and then it gets very, very narrow at the bottom.
I'm sorry?
It doesn't look like a normal image.
It looks like a Salvador Dali painting.
How about now? Let's see. Is it better?
No. Why don't you stop it and then restart it? Maybe that would be.
Is it possible for Prakash or you to play it? I send it to you. But I mean to Prakash.
Yeah, I could. Hold on. You sent it.
Maybe I can continue. I can continue with the presentation, and then if you can play it by the end of the presentation, that would be great. If not, we'll continue without it.
I don't. You know, I don't think I received it. John, did you receive it?
I think it was in the email chain. If you go back to the very first message that was from Demeter.
I found it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe Prakash, let me know when you're ready. I'll continue with the presentation.
Okay, so
Should he stop screen share?
I can
Yes.
start showing it now if you want me to.
Okay.
All right, hold on.
For those of you that came on a little bit later, Demeter's actually in an airport en route somewhere, so probably encountering a few more extra challenges from the technical standpoint.
It's called From Humanitarian Aid to Proud Community Development. Is that the slideshow you'd like me to show?
Yes, exactly. Well,
okay. Are you seeing it?
Experience
no.
Highlights the multiple challenges of meeting.
All right, let's see.
Yes.
See it now?
The most basic needs of a country's population, ravaged by centuries of colonization, economic exploitation, and natural disasters. As in some developing countries, these challenges are further exacerbated by an extreme level of socio-economic crisis, political instability, and an immense divide between the richest 0.1% and the majority. So, what is the place of humanitarian actors like AMURT and AMURT-Haiti in such a challenging context? And how can AMURT and AMURT-Haiti pave the way to Prout neo-humanist education in a Savipra society? An online search on AMURT and AMURT-Haiti programs worldwide reveals a humanitarian approach largely focused on the immediate needs of disaster-stricken communities. In Haiti, our evolution from providing for the very basic needs following disasters to longer-term development started with a gradual shift in placing children at the center through programs such as child-friendly spaces and social-emotional learning. The programs evolved year after year, adding layers, moving the focus onto leadership, social entrepreneurship, integrated resource management, watershed protection, and women's self-help solidarity. What defines this entrepreneurial development approach is its close relationship with the local communities, including these women who have to walk 3 hours every day in order to get to work by 5 in the morning. Spending hours waist deep in hot mud under the Caribbean sun, these women sift through coarse salt crystals, leaving cuts in their skin, in order to make $3 a day, which will not even cover their basic living expenses. Our experiences in Haiti gradually led us to abandon the traditional paternalistic models of humanitarian aid in favor of a sustainable Prout-based development model. For example, this modernized salt facility transformed a vulnerable, hurricane-prone desert to make advances in maternal and child health, environmental protection, and livelihood generation. Using renewable energy to circulate seawater through interconnected ponds, the facility now produces most of Haiti's iodized salt, investing all of its revenue in support for microcredit programs for women's self-help groups. Our development goal has been to transform communities by increasing income-generating activities and building local capacities, all while challenging gender and social inequities. This approach views local communities not as mere beneficiaries, but rather central actors engaged in their own transformation. Working alone no more, this development approach involves considerable emphasis on valuing local leadership, building trust, forging partnerships, and working in solidarity. The self-help group methodology is one of the most impactful methodologies of organizing a rural community using Proutistic block-level planning strategies. Groups of 20 women learn how to meet once a week and form savings and loans units, restructuring society's three pillars: economic, social, and political. Without external funding, the self-help groups have been key to organizing more than 3,000 women in 150 groups and 10 associations, represented by a single federation. These structures serve as incubators for women entrepreneurs and leaders who manage a growing scope of micro-projects. These groups are important support systems, encouraging solidarity amongst their members. They have led to drastic drops in the levels of gender-based violence in more than 60 villages. The groups have proven to be very effective also in building trust among the women, providing psychosocial support in difficult times. This model has also provided the support for a myriad of other development initiatives, from reforestation and watershed protection to education, maternal health and well-being, and food transformation. Prout's principles and roadmap for transforming society is interwoven within AMURT and AMURT-Haiti's commitment to the most vulnerable communities all over the world. When blended together, they offer an inspiring and replicable vision for a new future.
Formons le trait. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Is this a different, this is part of the presentation? I should continue, Dimitri?
Sorry, Prakash?
Should I continue this one?
Yes.
Okay, great.
1, 2, 3, 4. Formons le trait. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Formons le trait. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Séjourner avec l'amour, pas séjourner avec l'amour, finir avec l'amour, c'est comme ça la marche d'une beauté. Séjourner avec l'amour, pas séjourner avec l'amour, finir avec l'amour, c'est comme ça.
Thanks, Prakash. So maybe I can share my screen back.
Okay.
And I, okay, this one. Yes. Yes, and I hope that this video presented a glimpse into the integrated programs that have arisen as part of this community-driven approach. Dada Ananda this morning encouraged me to also talk about the lessons learned. So I decided to put this cartoon for a purpose. We struggled a lot until we came up with the right methodologies, and I remember meeting Sivan Jean-Baptiste. Sivan Jean-Baptiste is the most charismatic and the leader, the founder of the biggest peasants network in Haiti. He's a real Proutist, and I hope that one day we invite him to one of our events. And I happened to get close to him, and I remember him telling me, you know, Dharma, until you don't organize the community from the bottom up, you're going to fail, and you're going to put the horse will be pushing the cart up, and you're going to be end up exhausting yourself, and you're going to end up down the hill. And at that time, I was beginning to understand Haiti. I've been in Haiti for 4 years, and already we had tried to organize the communities in a very intellectual way. We would pick up those whom we considered had the greatest capacity, and we would invest in training them in very progressive Cuban-based or grassroots methodologies of organization that were Proutistic in many ways. But at the end, what happened is we created an elite, an intellectual elite in the villages that already actually created more problems for us than solutions. And it wasn't until we went to Rwanda and we started the self-help group approach extensively. We brought Rwandan facilitators to train our facilitators. And we began adopting PR Sarkar's block level planning, essentially in the form of self-help group approach. And this is when we put the horse in front of the cart and things started going very fast. We relinquished control. We realized this is not our effort. This is the village's effort. They have to organize themselves, and we're there as facilitators. And it started really happening around 2014. Right now, we have close to 5,000 women organized in this federation, association, and self-help group pyramidal approach. So briefly, what it means is that every one of these villages has groups of 20 women who are of equal or similar socioeconomic status. They meet every week. They put their savings together. They elect 2 representatives to represent them at the association level. Once an association has 20 women or representatives of 10 self-help groups, it becomes its own association, and it sends 2 representatives to represent it at the federation level. The self-help groups address the economic problems of the community. The association addresses also the social, and the federation becomes a political and lobbying force for the rights of women and for larger issues in the community. And I can share many, many stories. The time is very limited, but I can tell you this is one of the greatest inspirations. My greatest inspirations after working in Haiti is this block level approach. I can see even if the water systems that we build, the schools, the clinics, even if the salt facility is wiped out and the mangroves are clear cut, this would become stronger and stronger over time, this self-help group structure. And now politicians and husbands and children, everyone is now affected by it. It has become the skeleton, the structure of the whole community. And the women, now the men are beginning to form their own self-help groups because the force of the women has become so strong. That the men feel that they have to step up. So it forces a sort of a whole restructuring of society. But it started with lots of errors, with lots of mistakes and lots of trials. The second thing that we went through in AMURT is rethinking of where we're heading as an organization and the empowerment of our own team. And in the beginning, we started with as a foreign, all the managers were foreigners and volunteers who would come for 2 years, 3 years, and by the time they learned the laws of the country, they would have to leave. And in 2014, we sat with our entire team and we decided to form another entity, 100% Haitian entity, which we called DESPRIT, standing for Development Entrepreneurial Social, which is social entrepreneurship, et production rural intégrée, integrated rural production. This entity became sort of the sister organization of AMURT. So now all of our partners recognize that AMURT is the international humanitarian actor that works hand in hand with DESPRIT, and DESPRIT takes care of the long-term economic Proutistic initiatives. Now DESPRIT is 100% Haitian, and I don't have to do much to handhold it. The managers are doing a great job, and we just accompany them, and we seek all the programs that we basically draw to Haiti. We sign a contract with DESPRIT, and DESPRIT realizes it and adapts it to the local reality. Another lesson we learned, where we learned many lessons in watershed protection, but we started just keeping focus on particular watersheds until we could see very durable changes. And this is an example of a mountain that was terraced, and now soil erosion rates are reducing in many parts of our watersheds. Many agencies are visiting it, but it starts with the bottom up, with a self-help group approach in the community. It's not AMURT realizing the project, is the community doing their own initiative. In case you're wondering, these crop circles in the video, this was an area that was desertified. People had clear-cut the mangroves and began drying it out for cattle grazing. And what we did is we created these micro lakes and began introducing water into them and planting mangroves, which I believe, yeah, this is a picture of kids planting mangroves and also taking care of the tree nurseries. Education is a big part of what we do, and I'll play a little bit.
Nous commençons chaque matin avec 5 matinées pour toute l'école ou bien en chaque classe. Ça a aidé élèves à commencer.
In it, the child narrator explains how the day starts. And we are working with almost 300 schools now in a model school network, which we're introducing new humanist education principles. Not calling it new humanist education, it's called vibrant education, éducation vivant. And all the schools start the day with a circle of love, with reflection, putting the children at the center of the learning process and giving the teachers the toolkit necessary for them to feel comfortable, not just pouring knowledge into the kids' heads, but actually encouraging them to actively participate and experiment, work together to resolve challenges through more play and exploration. And again, these are woven new humanist principles into a whole curriculum that now the government is beginning to study for incorporation into the national curriculum. It has been adopted by Catholic schools, by government schools. It is the same principle of you do not come into a community to do everything yourself, but you come as a facilitator to very subtly introduce new concepts. And you can see the way people and kids talk, they have appropriated it, they have accepted this as their own. So I included this picture because it's very meaningful to me personally. These kids, these little girls and not so little girls, they were part in a village where the parents refused to accept karate in the village. They felt that karate is a sport introducing violence, the violence of Port-au-Prince, and they were adamant. They said, we do not want the violence of Port-au-Prince to come to our village. But because they trusted us, they decided to agree. And now we have 12 villages where the kids, primarily girls, practice karate. These particular girls became, two of them became national champions. And they were drafted to go to Japan, to the national, to a big competition there. But you could see something, a transformation happening around these karate clubs. The boys, the parents, everyone would crowd around, and the girls became the center of attention. And now they're growing to be role models and real pillars. And to me, this is the magic of this process, is you see the mothers, the children, everyone is gaining this self-confidence to become a pillar and to stand their own ground. And I included this picture also because this is where it all started. This is a child-friendly space. And we had 2,000 children that participated in these child-friendly spaces. These were little oases where the kids practiced yoga and meditation and games and art. And these children flourished at a time when there was tremendous devastation outside of these spaces. And when they went back to normal school, the parents would come and find us and would tell us with pride that the children had become the top of their classes. Again, this is a testimony to me about the multifaceted philosophy where Prout and New Humanism and AMURT, it grows as within this multifaceted philosophy and practice that encourages a total transformation of the individual and of society. And it's a transformation which does not happen in any other approach that I have seen in the context of Haiti. And I'll end with this video, again, to recap a little bit of the Prout principles that have been incorporated in the humanitarian setting.
Excuse me,
some of it is
Demeter?
repetitive, but I think it's meaningful nevertheless.
Can you hear me, Demeter? Prakash?
Yes?
Can you close that meeting chat window by just the button in the top left?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Yes.
Is it better now? And there's some good questions shared, but I'm sure other people might have questions after. So with this, we have about 15 minutes left. I'll just end with just a couple of minutes. I do not want to give an idea that this is a very idealistic situation where I'm here to share only good news. We have tremendous challenges, we're facing an extraordinary complicated context. Yet, in the lessons learned over the past 15 years, there have been a lot of grains of inspiration, and I hope that you take this out of this presentation. And then for the remainder of the time, I would invite anyone to share questions or comments. There were a couple that already were shared in the chat box window. And how do I get to this comments? Okay, voila. And yeah, one was the comment that yes, it is accurate that Haiti is one of the most socioeconomically disadvantaged. And but if there are any particular questions regarding any of the programs, I don't have my glasses and I cannot read very well.
You were talking about the child-friendly spaces. They developed in the context of the response to the earthquake.
Maybe if you can read any questions at this point I'll take, but I don't have my reading glasses. I cannot read very well.
Were the child-friendly spaces developed around the time of the big earthquake in Port-au-Prince? Or were they in other places?
The child-friendly spaces were after the earthquake, exactly, following 2 years after the earthquake.
Okay.
And Radana, as a marine biologist, I'm very much interested in the outcome of mangrove planting. I can talk about mangroves for hours, but yet to me, that has been my greatest discovery. Yes. Hello? Hello?
My internet is very unstable. I'd like to see some pictures of the outcome of the mangrove planting. If you can share through the Prout Alliance, I really appreciate it.
Yes, I can share more about I didn't know you're a marine biologist, but yes, I will not be able to share them here, but yes, this is one of the greatest inspirations to me are mangroves, and it's a new discovery, a new program for us.
Demeter, if you can forward those to us, we can post them with the recording. So it's an additional resource, that people can access.
Absolutely. Can you share an example of one of the challenges and how you are dealing with it? Yes, I mean, we are facing with tremendous challenges now with the salt value chain. We have a whole big factory that's producing enough salt to give 30% of Haiti iodized salt, yet the gangs have taken over. We built a barge, actually a 150 metric ton barge, and now the gangs have taken over it and have taken over the whole seaport area. So now how do we deal with it? We have tremendous challenge now because now we cannot penetrate the market. We cannot bring the salt to those who most need it because of the situation. So we are waiting with impatience. Tomorrow, the United Nations is going to vote on Haiti on a peacekeeping force. So I'm personally going to wait with impatience. Are they going to invite the Kenyans and Jamaicans to Haiti as a peacekeeping force? Because it has become a problem beyond our capacity to resolve. There are many other problems we deal with logistically. I mean, our logistics guy got kidnapped. I personally got attacked 3 months ago. We have the AMURT-Haiti project had to get displaced from Port-au-Prince, and with tremendous difficulty, with many people. So we are dealing with basically a situation, constantly dealing with security and that can threaten lives. So this complicates tremendously our work. We have to, we spend 50% of our time dealing with logistics and security. It's a huge responsibility for everyone, for all of our managers and for me. Am I missing a question?
I might interject that, the salt production itself was a response to a challenge as I understood it, there were many iodine deficiency related diseases in the country because of lack of access to iodized salt. So that in itself was a real response to a challenge that is addressing health issues.
Absolutely. Haiti is one of the last 4 countries in the world yet to overcome iodine deficiency disorder, IDD, and almost 35% of Haitians are iodine deficient. So no matter if we introduce new humanist principles, education principles, unless we resolve this, we're going to fail. And the way conventional, both faith-based and conventional NGO agencies try to address it is from the top down. And what we've been doing, I feel more and more people have accepted successfully, is from the bottom up with Prout-based principles to organize the community, on the level of production, to introduce new methods, to help them appropriate them as their own. And now, for the first time, Haiti produces clean enough salt and in big enough quantities to iodize it. So it's become a big national problem, a big program that could resolve a big problem once the situation gets resolved, the security situation. But yeah, John, this is a good example of despite all the problems of the value chain, it's very challenging to research a whole value chain in Haiti right now.
I encourage other people, when we have an advantage, to talk with someone that has such a tremendous firsthand experience with this kind of relief work that is transitioning into self-reliance and autonomy. Please, if you have questions, raise your hand or speak up. I think this is a tremendous opportunity.
Yes, Nina?
I'm interested in how AMURT and Prout and neo-humanistic facets of the organization are responding and using lessons learned as a model for replication in other parts of the planet. Are there papers being written, or are there entities that are beginning to coordinate between the different facets of the organization?
Well, together with Sarita and Paul, they were our top managers 2014, 15, 16. We went to the global AMURT conference in Sweden. We trained all the AMURT managers of all the various countries. We had a 1-month workshop, actually, and some of these methods were replicated in other parts. And in AMURT, there is a networking going on a Prout level. Only now we're beginning to intersect with Prout more and more, but not yet. Papers, I think that's where the strength of the Prout Alliance and North American Prout is come, because there are a lot of intellectuals and a lot of people with high capacity that could actually help us properly document and create white papers, and we don't have this capacity. So I think that it's a very good question, and I think we should maybe we should highlight these projects as Prout models, and we should maybe create small groups, maybe marine biologists or economists, or who can help create best practices and other papers on academic level.
Thank you. Duly noted. Now Prakash has his hand up. I know he was at the Proudest Universal conference. Maybe
there's a very good example of a work that's in Nigeria. Dr. Dinesh Ananda AMURT, as for many years, has been working in women and maternal health for over 20 years, and they've got like 5 hospitals. They had more than 20,000 births, and their philosophy, of course, is the same, which is the development, and the goal is to, he'd been working for a number of years in Ghana with water development and village healers training, and those projects, AMURT is no longer involved, but all those projects are continuing, because that was the goal, is for these projects to become autonomous. So AMURT isn't there to be there permanently as a source of, praise or recognition, but simply accomplishment, and then so the community will carry it forward. So I'm sure Ghana and Nigeria are examples of where this work has been.
And Kenya also is another success story, very big success story.
And the other place, AMURT in Porto Alegre, Brazil, they have 3 schools and they have 600 people working for AMURT. So it's a long-term, it's creating many jobs, and it's, besides running those schools, is working with social movements, it's working with the landless people, it's working with around economic and social development. So that's another example of a place where, Neohumanism, Prout, and AMURT are all working together.
I'm curious, Demeter. I know at one point there was some effort to work on maybe a desal plant or solar power systems for some of the villages. Did that get totally disrupted, or did some of that actually come to fruition?
No, it did, and I should have highlighted it. We now have 2 villages that, with the same initiative that you were involved in, Ravi. We actually had a Danish engineer, and now we have the 2 villages are now self-sufficient in water, and they pay with digital cards, and it's become another example of where it's not a charity, but it's actually it's become an economic endeavor that the self-help group can enter money into the bank of the village, and the village for the first time has clean water. Before they were buying 5-gallon buckets of dirty water. Now they have clean water that is actually drinkable for half of the price, and the money gets put into and it's all done by chain link technology, by cell phone technology. So now the last part, because of the interruptions of insecurity in diesel, etc., this system is not working, temporary, but it's another success story that we should study and replicate. It's a great example.
I put a link in the chat to the video presentation by Dada Dinesh Ananda about his work in Haiti. It's very powerful.
So I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question, but it's kind of related to the work I do. I'm working in inner city, urban situations, and an issue that comes up that I think is related, and I'd like to know what you might have to say about this is, how do you match the issues facing the community with the capacity building that you have to do with self-help groups? I hope you understand what I'm meaning. Like a problem I run into a lot is that when you look at the issues that are facing the community, and when you look at the capacity building that's needed, you can't always find a good match of resources to do that. So in the situation you are in, can you respond to that issue at all, Demeter?
Chapa, they were announcing things, and so I hope I heard you properly, but just to repeat your question, you're asking about the ability to match the needs for capacity building and the resources. Is this your particular question? The resources to support
and how that's related to the issues that the people are facing themselves, and then the capacity building that's necessary to be able to develop a self-help group in response to those. How do you identify and match resources to do that?
It is one of the hardest things to do, and it's a very good question. I mean, building capacities is one of the most complicated things because you have to put tremendous, it requires tremendous attention and a whole approach that is sustained, and sometimes it might not need a lot of resources, but that's what we do constantly, is we build capacities. All of our programs are based on capacity building. If we're not focused just on realizing the projects, but in supporting the local communities to realize them. So we have to actually adjust the complexity in order to match the capacities. We cannot parachute ideas or projects that might be too idealistic or might be the right solutions at the moment, but if the local capacities do not match this, there will be a failure. We're going to create a failed project. So in that sense, it's a very good question. I think capacity building is at the center of this development philosophy, and it requires resources. It's challenging to find these resources, so we have to constantly convince funders and but we're creating slowly more and more reputation. Is becoming a little bit less challenging, to the point that even the World Food Program now, it's recognizing this, and it's inviting us to apply for more capacity building rather than service programs. So this is a sign to me that even on institutional level, there's hope for change. They're seeing the income, they're seeing the results, and even those agencies that are very, very hard to change, even they want results. I mean, these people, they want to be inspired. So, but yeah, it's a very good question. And for Haiti, I believe 100% of the development work should focus on capacity building, not on just providing services and meeting basic needs.
Thank you.
Doris?
Yeah, hi. We have understood that the United Nations Development Program called UNDP has recognized the group in Portugal in Ananda Valley, and they're working together now. So it is good that we're being recognized. The models are being recognized. Thank you for your work.
Yes. Great to thank you for sharing. This is great news.
Agree.
And I think the biggest recognition is with the local communities. I feel that the recognition would come on a macro level. It would come inevitably, and we've seen it in Haiti. It comes more once the results come. But the greatest reward is the recognition from the local community, because they feel there is accountability, there is impact on their lives. Their lives are changing for the better. You're leaving behind. They don't look at you as just a foreign agency coming and with a sense of privilege and resources, but they actually feel real impacts in their lives. And this is the biggest inspiration, and that's why we're there. Otherwise, we should not be. There's no reason why we should exist as an organization. Yeah.
I think Shri, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, thank you. Brother Japa may have gotten at this. I missed some of the presentation. I see your ear. I don't have much energy in me to speak up, so I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'm curious what patterns you have seen arise in the community's communication networks, and who on the ground is able to steadfastly show up to make sure that a message gets from point A to point B, and therefore B to C and C to D, and what communication networks that have been put in place for one project may or may not have also been used to build successful next projects on, because that communication network to let the community what the needs are, what the opportunities are in terms of each project, and play that feedback loop.
It's another great question, and this is another area where we made many mistakes, and we had to learn the hard way. I personally you have to understand how Haitian society works and how there's a broken telephone, and there are many agendas, and so communication can often get broken down. So I'll give you an example. In a for a positive example, we're now starting a 3-year initiative on mangrove restoration and reforestation. And before we started it, we focused on series of workshops in every single village, where we met with, we invited the whole community. We invited them to share their problems, the cause of their problem, their solutions. Then they were invited to a regional meeting. They sent representatives, and then these representatives participated in workshops. It took a total of 4 months of different levels of meetings in the different levels, all the way up to the departmental level. And until, so it was so painstaking, but by the end, they were all clapping hands and celebrating just the process of communication and decision-making alone. We had not even started the work, but because they felt heard, the communication circulated from the bottom to the top, they felt empowered. And in communication strategy can come tremendous sense of disempowerment or empowerment. And it's a whole, it's a skill, it's a strategy. It has to be incorporated in the NGO work, but it's one of the most important phases, and it can really kill a project. It really can support it or kill it. We now have a radio station, our own radio station. Finally, we constantly share messages with the communities. We have a team of animators. We call them animators. They're facilitators. They constantly go around. They meet with the local authorities. They meet with the people in the communities. So they pass the messages this way. We have constant meetings of the various levels of leaderships. We invite them on trainings. And this is another way we pass the messages. But for Haiti, it is a key strategy for success. And it has to be on multi-level, multifaceted, locally driven, very, very participative, and very, very simple. A project can be 30 pages, but you have to simplify it in 1-page Creole. It has to make sense. You print it, you post it in every church, you in the marketplace, you share it in a very digestible way, and then it will become appropriated and accepted.
I would love to
yeah.
see the model that you were describing when you were doing this, and the animator was going back and forth. I was seeing an image of a communication strategy that we could very easily create to show what it looks like, and then more easily replicate it, talk about where the differences exist and where things might need to adapt subjectively or objectively. That sounds like a good project for collective action through the Prout Alliance. So thank you for that.
It's great. Yes, it's true. Thank you for the good question and suggestion.
I'm curious if it seems like some of the work, where, especially where you initiated the first work, is sort of rural and some distance from, city centers. Has it been able to continue, or is the sort of, Port-au-Prince, et cetera, disruption really impacting some of these rural areas?
We are continuing, all our programs are continuing, and it almost feels like the era when the dinosaurs, a comet came and destroyed all the dinosaurs, and all the little microorganisms survived, and the same thing is happening now in Haiti. Now many organizations, NGOs, they cannot function in this context because it's become impossible for them to function. But while for us, we already shifted our philosophy a long time ago in 2014. So we've become more resilient. First, we don't have to take care of expatriates. I mean, we have only a few expatriates, but they're supporting the projects from outside, and we come in once a month. So it's very locally driven. All of our staff comes from the communities. They don't require per diems and rental offices, etc. we have very minimum needs. So we're a very lean organization. Administratively speaking, we have only 10% going towards administrative overhead. That's why we're getting more and more contracts. We don't pay high salaries, and most of the money goes straight to the communities. So, and also geographically speaking, all of our programs are targeting rural communities. So even though Port-au-Prince is blocked, we somehow find ways to operate. But on the other hand, it's become extraordinarily challenging. I mean, our headquarters are in Port-au-Prince, our chief accountants, managers, they are in Port-au-Prince, and now we had to rent offices in the provinces, move them and their families. We can find ways to adapt. So we continue to operate. Radhana?
Yes, can I ask a question?
Of course.
A few questions.
Por favor.
In the afforestation that you have done, what kind of trees did you use?
Radhana, I didn't hear the last part of the question. Or do you mind repeating, please?
In the afforestation, what kind of trees did you use?
Okay. So that's another example of when I talked about the communication workshops, it's all locally driven. So every single community gives the priorities for their trees. We were pushing for moringa because it has tremendous nutritional benefits among many other trees. But many communities, they chose, for example, other priorities like mangoes or avocados, but the other communities came up with the idea of using trees associated with voodoo, with magic. Why? Because they felt that they will protect them from being clear cut. So now mapu, I don't know if you're familiar in Puerto Rico, but the African trees, they're very big stem trees grow, so they have to grow close to water sources, but they're associated with voodoo ceremonies. So now we're beginning to plant these and seeing how this would do, because that's what this particular communities chose. So it's largely driven by local needs, but it's never me saying we're gonna do this, and it always starts from the bottom.
But you can put the idea in the mind, like you did with moringa. I said that you can put the idea in their mind, like you did with moringa.
Yes,
because I'm thinking of.
We're planting a lot of moringa. Sorry.
I'm thinking of neem trees for the Saint Susan area, because there are some local spots that you can see through Google Earth that have been the trees have been removed. So it should be easy, since it rains quite a bit over there, to get trees that they can use for making charcoal and for using the wood for cooking. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know Saint Suzanne area very well, but neem, yes, the neem is not respected very much in Haiti for some reason. Haitians are a little bit opinionated about certain things, and neem is one of them. But I think that and that's a whole different discussion. To me, it's a nice surprise to hear that you're a biologist, and maybe we can continue it also on another level, because it might be getting too late. I myself, and this is my specialty, so I can talk for a long time, but I think other people might be bored. But I think we can continue this particular in another venue.
No problem, no problem. And I have one other question. Where was the barge located that the gangs took it over?
We were given by the government a very strategic piece of land close to the free trade zone. And we still have this land, and we have actually a grant to build a whole little seaport and salt processing facility. and it's a grant by the German government. It's right next to Port-au-Prince, about 30 minutes out. And this is...
It's not...
Sorry?
It's not where the salt was being produced.
No, it's close to Port-au-Prince, and that's the area that's taken over by gangs now. So because they want to control the free trade zone and extort it for money. So unfortunately, what in normal circumstance should have been a perfect sense, a very good location, it exposed us to tremendous risk in this context.
I understand. But the communities where you have been working in the northwest are safe from gangs right now?
Yes, they are. They are, but the community that lives right next to the barge, they were all their houses were burned and everyone was chased away. And we actually had to help the local authority run away to the Dominican Republic because they tried to kill him. So it's this kind of degree of instability. They basically completely tried to uproot the whole community there.
Okay, thank you.
I want to be sensitive to people's time. I know for some it's getting late. I think, Demeter, if you're willing to stay on, if people have other questions. I did see someone was asking about the seminars, and routinely it's the second Thursday of every month that we're holding these. We've done them for almost 2 years in a row now. Occasionally we adjust it, mostly to accommodate, like I was mentioning in November, we're going to do it on a Saturday, and a few times we've done that just because of time zone or the availability of a presenter that has an important topic to share but just wasn't available other times. But if you go on our websites, you can find whatever programs are coming up. And also when you go on, the websites, you can actually access all of these programs are recorded. So you can access some of them that have been done in the past and gather information that way as well. And I guess we can formally end the presentation. I think as long as people have questions and want to stay on, we can continue to record it, but we don't expect people, if it's getting late for some of you, to stay on. You'd be able to access that later as a recording.
Yes, and thank you everyone for making time this evening. It was a pleasure for me to participate and share Haiti, and look forward to maybe meeting soon on another event. And maybe one day when Haiti normalizes, welcoming some of you to Haiti.
Yeah, I see Ravi actually has a question.
It was an applause.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think, I don't know, Demeter, if you were able to see all the comments, but many people commented about how inspiring the work you've been engaged in really is. And I would definitely second that. It's tremendous work. And I think, building that kind of experience base, the lessons learned and everything, I think it presents a tremendous opportunity to make that kind of work much more effective in developing local resilience, autonomy, self-reliance, and basically, I think the lessons you're learning in that kind of practical application and that sort of integration of Prout, neo-humanism and relief work is just a very dynamic model that I think is very timely, just given the frequency and severity of disruption of various types on the planet these days. So
thank you. And again, the credit goes to the Haiti team. I think that's the greatest thing is they're the ones carrying this on their shoulders forward. But yes, thank you for sharing all this, and thank you everyone.
Thank you. We wish you safe